Hello everyone, happy Monday and welcome to this week's installment of Smash or Pass, a series where we talk about the newest fragrances that have been announced over this past week and we discuss whether or not we want to get them and why. This is supposed to be a playful way for us to literally play Smash or Pass with the new fragrance releases. It's a way for us to stay informed about what's going on, analyze some trends, and generally have a chit chat about what's been announced in fragrance. If that's interesting to you, then definitely do keep on watching, but if this is your first time on this channel, hello, my name is Anya. I love fragrances. I talk about them here every single weekday, Monday through Friday. I also publish additional content on TikTok and Instagram under the username ANECHKAFRAGRANCES. And if you're interested in fragrance history, I do have a podcast. It's called The Fragrance Report. I launch a new episode every single Wednesday on Spotify and on YouTube. So if you're interested in fragrance history or fragrances in general, do check out the podcast. And in addition to that, if you're trying to be a little bit more mindful when it comes to your fragrance consumption, if you want an efficient way to not only track your spending but also identify what kind of fragrances and notes you have in your collection, whether it be in full bottle, sample, or decant form, I have just a solution for you. It's a fragrance collection log and expense tracker. It's a spreadsheet that allows you to track all these items and more, and it's available for you to download on my Stan store. So with that being said, there is a lot to talk about in this video, so let's get started. Okay, so the very first release that we have is actually from Micallef, and this particular perfume is a mango scent, and I have been I used to be really kind of snarky when it came to tropical fragrances, specifically fragrances with a mango note, but recently I have opened up to mango, not gonna lie. So I am excited about this new release and I look forward to smelling it. This is gonna be called Ananda Royal Mango, so this is a flanker of their original Ananda fragrance, and Ananda, according to this article that talks about the release, is Sanskrit for serenity. So this is supposed to be a tribute to peace and grace. So this Ananda collection will now feature 2 additional fragrances, not just this one mango one, but Ananda Royal Mango and Ananda Royal Mango Nectar. So Ananda Royal Mango will have top notes of mango, raspberry, and grapefruit, a mid of silk flower, caramel, and whipped cream, and then a base of vanilla, amber, musk, and patchouli. And then the Royal Mango Nectar fragrance will have notes of mango, raspberry, and grapefruit at the top, a mid of silk, caramel, and whipped cream, and then a base of musk, patchouli, vanilla, and amber. Guys, look at the bottle design. Isn't that gorgeous? I have long admired Micallef when it came to not only their fragrances but also their bottle designs. They are so very well thought out and so luxe and glamorous looking. I love their bottles. I am actually, okay, I haven't mentioned this before, but I am planning a trip to the south of France. It's a bit last minute, but I do believe I'm going to be interacting with the Micallef team. I'll be seeing them at a conference that I'm going to. So I will see if I can smell this fragrance, and if I do smell, I will report back on it because I am actually really excited about this. This looks really interesting. So yeah, this looks delicious, and also the bottle design looks absolutely gorgeous. So talking about the pricing, by the way, the 100 milliliter eau de parfum format will be priced at 245 euros, while the 30 milliliter will be priced at 165. Okay, we also do have a new launch from Scents of Wood. As the name might suggest, this is a brand that creates fragrances inspired by different types of wood. So this particular fragrance is going to be called NFT3, and this is part of their NFT collection apparently. So this is a fragrance with notes of pear liquor, ginger, and hazelnut at the top, a mid of orange blossom, orris, and osmanthus, and then a base of patchouli heart, myrrh, and vanilla. This does sound rather intriguing. So I looked this up on their website, and I didn't know about this before, but basically what Scents of Wood is doing is that they have a subscription service that's supposed to be not modeled after NFTs. Don't ask me what NFTs are. I mean, I know what they are, but I can't speak to it. It's not my realm. Just look it up if you don't know what it is. But basically, they're trying to combine the two, and they essentially have a subscription model for their fragrances. So you pay I think like a rate up front, and then you get a new fragrance every 6 months. So interesting. Again, this is completely out of my depth. Like, I don't know about NFTs, but I do think it's interesting how they have that subscription model with their fragrances now. I don't know if this fragrance will be available outside of the NFT subscription. But I don't know. It seems interesting. It kind of reminds me of what this brand that I see on Instagram all the time called Fern is doing. I don't think it's like the same thing, but like the idea of like coming out with like limited edition drops that's like only really available for subscribing customers or like for loyal customers of the brand that have opted in to receive like these kinds of notifications. I think it's an interesting kind of way of doing business. It's definitely more exclusive. It's meant to be, I think, for like dedicated fans or followers of particular brands. So it's definitely interesting. Let me know what you think about this. Again, I am kind of out of my depth because I do not know too much about NFTs whatsoever. They just seem like it seemed like something that's like super new and a bit kind of uncertain for me. So it's not something I've ever delved into, but I think this is the first time I've seen a fragrance brand kind of merge their product with something like an NFT. So this next fragrance is by Memo. So this will be called Red Island. So this is going to be the newest fragrance in their Wandering Seeds collection. And this particular fragrance will have top notes of Lagonza essence, bergamot essence, and Madagascar cinnamon essence, a mid of CO2 coffee extract, sandalwood absolute, and carrot essence, and then a base of Madagascar bourbon vanilla absolute, Sulawesi patchouli essence, and tonka bean essence. Interesting. So the bottle design, I will say, looks absolutely gorgeous. I love the look of it. And I also like, let me actually see. Okay, if this is like an etching, that would be so cool. I don't know if this is an etching on the actual bottle or a sticker. Now, I'm not super familiar with Memo. I'm not like a dedicated follower of the brand. I'm not super familiar with all the scents. But I think this looks promising. The bottle design does look lovely. This looks like the kind of thing that could easily be like an everyday fragrance just based off of the notes. And I know that carrot seed is one of those notes that's not commonly used. So I actually went to a perfume workshop. This was like several months ago that was being hosted by Commodity over in New York. And they were celebrating the launch of their Orris fragrance, or I think they were chronicling Orris. And they had us smell some of the raw materials. And one of the raw materials they had to smell was carrot seed, I believe. And I remember being kind of like surprised by how approachable it smelled. It smelled kind of like musky and like full bodied, and like it smelled delicious, you know? And it's interesting because like when we have like these kinds of notes that we're unfamiliar with, oftentimes there's a bit of uncertainty as to how it'll contribute to the fragrance note. But I feel like carrot seed is just like a very like kind of slightly musky but full-bodied, almost fruity kind of scent. It's really interesting. And honestly, when it comes to naturals, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to describe them because I can't like tell you like, oh my gosh, this is what it smells like, because when it's like the raw material, then it's like a little bit different. But yeah, I was really intrigued by it. It didn't smell like a carrot that much at all, like nothing like a carrot, like actual orange carrot. But yeah, this seems interesting. Am I probably gonna like seek it out and go out of my way to try this out? Probably not, but this is the kind of thing that I would be interested in testing if I ever came across a Memo counter. So let me know what you think of this. So Nautica is launching 2 new masculine fragrances as part of their new color collection. These fragrances will be called Color Green and Color Red respectively. Color Red will have notes of black pepper, lavender, and rosemary, and then Color Green will also be a fougere with notes of ginger, geranium, and vetiver. This seems intriguing. It's obviously marketed towards men. Okay, so the fragrance news article that I'm looking at is saying that the Color Red fragrance retails for $36.99, while the Color Green is listed at $72.87 for 50 milliliters. That does not seem right to me. I would double check on that. And then they also have deodorizing sprays. for like $10.99. I mean, Nautica is one of those fragrance brands that I think like every guy is at least familiar with. It's like one of those cult classics, men's fragrance brands. So I feel like this is pretty like standard. Again, this is not marketed towards women, so this is not going to be something that I'm going to go out of my way to actually find out about or like actually look into. But if you're a guy and you're a fan of Nautica, if you want a classic but you want something that with a reimagined twist, this might be an option to try out. So next up we have this new launch from this brand called Tyre. It's spelled Tauer, and this fragrance will be called Shadid Extrait, and this is a limited edition fragrance, and Shadid means intense or strong in Arabic, and it's inspired by the warm ambience of the desert from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, where silence prevails and solitude is the name of the game. And this fragrance will be very limited with only 235 bottles available. And the notes themselves will include top notes of coriander and castoreum, a mid of Nagarmotha, palisander, and animalic musks, and then a base of sandalwood, ambergris, vanilla, and cedarwood. Okay, this brand in general, Tyre? Am I mispronouncing it? But yeah, I've heard a lot about them. I haven't tried anything from them specifically, but if you've tried anything from this brand, do let us know in the comments. Let us know your experience. I can't really speak to this brand, but if you are super a fan of this and if you're interested in getting an ultra limited edition bottle, this might be something for you to try out. I do think that there is obviously we all love fragrances, right? But I think within the fragrance industry, there are different types of audiences. So there are the types of audiences that would absolutely jump at the idea of getting something super exclusive and limited edition. And then there's also the other type of audience that I consider myself a part of that isn't necessarily going to be like super into a fragrance just because it's limited edition, if at all. Like I try to avoid fragrances that are very limited edition because then I can't talk about them for a long period of time on the channel. So if you're part of the audience that really wants something that's like ultra exclusive and limited edition, this might be one to try out, but I personally do believe this is a pass for me personally. We have a new launch from Lancome. This is a flanker to the original La Vie Belle. This time it'll be called La Vie Belle Vanille Nude, and this fragrance will have notes of jasmine, vanilla, and musk, and the bottle looks like that. This honestly reminds me of Carolina Herrera Good Girl Blush, kind of like with the vibes. I know it's like light pink, it's not the Carolina Herrera, just commandeer the use of light pink. But yeah, it looks like this is Lancome's first musky vanilla fragrance, which also does seem promising. I don't know about you, but I tend, especially recently, I've really been gravitating towards musky vanilla perfumes, and this does seem rather interesting. I'd be curious to see what Lancome's interpretation of a musky vanilla would be, because I feel like they have some really signature accords that everyone kind of equates to Lancome as a brand. They have that Idole Rose, which is very once you know it, you smell it in their other flankers as well. They have that Idole Rose, and then they have that kind of musky, sugary nature that came from their La Vie Belle line with the jasmine. So yeah, I'd be curious to see what their interpretation of this is. I would hope that it's probably not going to be as sweet as their original La Vie Belle, but if they're going for that musky vanilla, who knows? But yeah, I'd be curious to try this out. Let me know, are you a fan of La Vie Belle, the original? If so, what do you think? I personally have never really been a super fan of the original La Vie Belle fragrance. I always consider it to be a little bit too sweet for my liking, but I understand why people appreciate it. I'm more of an Idole fan, and you guys know how much I love Idole Nectar. That one is one of my favorite Idole fragrances of all time. I love it, so I'm looking forward to trying this out. Let me know what you think of this launch. This next one is interesting. This is a new niche brand and fragrance. So this brand is literally called Touch, but it's spelled Touch, and this was a fragrance brand that was launched this spring in Vietnam. And the perfumer for the brand is the independent perfumer Sai Chuang. And this was the same perfumer that was awarded the prize of the International Jury of the Art and Olfaction Awards in 2024 for the Molotov cocktail fragrance. And so essentially the founder of the brand, To Chuang, wanted to express the living soul of Vietnam cities in his fragrances, and he specifically wanted to work with a local Vietnamese perfumer for this purpose, and he wanted to emulate how the different cities in the country differ in smells, and he wanted to also capture the subtle differences between the cities in the general mood of the fragrance and the small details. So the first fragrance that appears to be getting a lot of press is the perfume Smoky Grays, and it's inspired by morning coffee in an old Saigon cafe that welcomes its first customers of the day. And this perfume will feature top notes of cinnamon and coffee, and then a mid of almond, honey, cocoa, and Turkish rose, and then a base of vanilla, praline, amber, and suede. Other fragrances in this line include Creamy Tide, Deep Lullaby, Dreamy Nautica, and Heritage Nuzzle. So Creamy Tide includes notes of lychee and peach at the top, a mid of apple blossom, milk, and rice, as well as a base of white musk, vanilla, benzoin, and iris. Deep Lullaby is a woody citrus fragrance which includes a top note of mojito, pine, and lavender, interesting, a mid of wild rose, mulberry, and mimosa, and then a base of charred wood, tobacco leaf, and sandalwood. Dreamy Nautica includes top notes of grapefruit and apple juice, a mid of neroli and sea salt, and then a base of aquatic notes, musk, and metallic notes. And then Heritage Nuzzle includes notes of osmanthus and pear at the top, a mid of green tea, jasmine, camellia, and lily of the valley, and then a base of palo santo, rosewood, cashmere musk, and vetiver. So this brand is priced pretty affordably. So in terms of U.S. pricing, this brand charges around $60 for each one of their fragrances, which is a terrific price. And then the sample sets are also available. So in general, this seems like a really intriguing brand. I love the diversity when it comes to these fragrances. So this is definitely a brand I'll be willing to try out and check out. So let me know what you think of these fragrances. I think my favorite one is the one with mulberry and the mojito note. I think that would be very much like up my alley in terms of what I prefer and what I'm drawn to currently when it comes to fragrances. Let me know which one you like the best. Next up, we have a new launch from Room 1015. They're launching Love-O-Matic, and this is an interesting fragrance. It's a musky perfume, but it features gourmand notes, including strawberry, blackcurrant, and lemon at the top, a mid of bubblegum and ozonic notes, and then a base of musk, ambrette, and cedar. So I've heard a bunch of varying opinions about this fragrance. Some people talk about like how musky it is, but then some people have also compared it to Burberry Her in terms of like the way the strawberries portrayed. I will be getting this fragrance, so I will of course report back to you and tell you what it smells like, what my opinions on it are. But I will say in general, if you're looking for an affordable niche brand, Room 1015 has some terrific options. They have a lot of versatility when it comes to the line. And their founder, by the way, is absolutely lovely. He is a pharmacist by trade, but he created Room 1015 as a creative outlet, which I absolutely love. And yeah, this is a really interesting brand. I will be talking about this fragrance, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, those are all the fragrances I have to mention in today's video. Do let me know which ones really stood out to you, which ones are you really intrigued by. I feel like we've kind of slowed down when it comes to new launches, but we've started to see a lot of really interesting kind of like under the radar brands pop up with interesting and new innovations. I am particularly invested in the Micallef launch, in the Vietnamese brand launch that I talked about, the Touch line, and also the Room 1015 launch I'm really excited about. Let me know what stood out to you. But as always, thank you for watching till the end of this video, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.